answering your tough financial questions for the past 26 years. It's Allworth's Money Matters with co-hosts Scott Hansen and Pat McClain. Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hansen and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. I'm Scott Hansen.
I'm Pat McClain.
Thanks for joining us today as we talk about financial matters and talk about retirement and money and all that stuff. Both myself and my co-host here, we're both financial advisors, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant. Spend our weeks with people like yourself and broadcast here on the weekends to be your financial advisors on the air. So whether you've got advisors now or you're doing things on your own, whatever the case, glad you're with us.
So I was talking about retire. I ran into a friend of mine who is a client of our firm. He has been for many, many years, doesn't work with me personally, but works with one of our advisors. And I ran into him this week, and I asked him, he's been retired for about a year. I said, how's it going? He said, he goes, I think I'm probably maybe go back to do some work. But he said, the interesting thing is, he said, I keep getting questions from people who find out I'm retired, and they ask him what his purpose is. Have you found a purpose?
Using that terminology?
Yes. Exactly. I asked the same question. They say, actually, they don't ask, what are you doing or what are you interested in? He said, they come right out and say, well, what's your purpose? And I thought it was interesting. And so,
do most people actually really know what their purpose? Right? I mean,
well,
this isn't one of these things that we all kind of.
We all struggle.
Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we can come up with a nice statement that maybe we try to live our life by, and a good motto or a good verse or something. But I think at some point in time we still sit there and think, really, is this what am I supposed to?
This gentleman, he retired as a lawyer, and I would call him a voracious.
No wonder he's wondering what his purpose is.
Well, he's a voracious reader, and he said, Pat, I never even thought about what my purpose is. I said, well, how do you spend your day? He said, I watch a little TV and I read a lot. Like, what do you read? He goes, and he goes through a list of how many books he's actually reading right now and how many books he reads a week. And I'm like, I think it sounds about right for you. Because I go for a walk, I'll go to the gym, but then I read a lot. And I'm like, there's your purpose. And, there's your purpose. But I thought it was interesting.
To read?
He likes to read. He's I don't know. Is he an intellectual? I don't know. Whatever that means. But I thought it was interesting that he said after a year, he is now considering going back and doing some work.
It is more and more common. I think part of it is I know work isn't it's not as physically as demanding as it used to be. I guess law has been law for a long time, but most of us have professional type jobs now. At least some sort of job that we're not digging ditches.
Most.
Hauling brush, right?
Yeah.
Chopping down trees, whatever the case may be. It's more of a intellectual job that most of us have, and for many people, they find it stimulating.
So it's not taxing physically.
Yes, but some things can be taxing
mentally.
And I think it's interesting. We're going to go to the calls here in a minute, but most of us have iPhones now or some sort of device very similar and have emails. And a lot of us have jobs now that tend to be a little 24/7.
Yes, but not all in a row. You're not working 24/7.
I understand, but
you're just accessible 24/7.
Yes.
Right? Which is good and bad.
Yeah, it is good and bad.
It's good and bad. So, all right, let's go to the calls.
Yes.
If you want to join the show, 833-99-WORTH.
It reminds me of a story.
Is this a joke?
I'm the guy. Never mind.
No,
we were talking about the profession of law, and I thought,
okay, tell the story.
I'm not going to now because my wife does the same thing to me. We'll be saying, tell them that joke about something. And I'm not a comedian.
No, you tell terrible jokes. You just can't do it well.
But
your delivery is awful. I have seen you present.
Are you
complex,
kidding me?
I have seen you, Scott. I have seen you present complex thoughts and ideas in front of hundreds of people, and you do a great job. The minute you go to actually like deliver any sort of a joke, like a pre-prescribed, written out joke, you're awful at it. You tense up. You don't do it well. You know, when you're looking at me for
I am now. I'm 53 years old. This is the first anyone's told me this.
You're not good at it. You know that.
I could interject a story. People don't know it's a joke. Then it's funny.
All right, so I ruined it.
Maybe it's not funny. I'm never telling a joke again during any sort of presentation.
You do a great job in presentations, but when that lighthouse story you tell,
I haven't told that one in 20 years.
All right. Well, anyway, when we all thank you.
And I'm not telling this attorney joke either.
Okay, thank you. We all thank you.
I'm offended.
Okay. Well,
actually, I'm not offended. I appreciate the honest feedback. There,
okay.
Pat.
Well, all right.
Means a lot
Well,
to
as
me.
long as you don't give it back to me, I'm fine.
And I am no longer going to try to be humorous at all.
All right. Let's go to Paul. Paul, thanks for joining Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi there.
Hi, Paul.
Pat. Thanks for taking my call. I loved your conversation about purpose and retirement. I could talk to you guys about that forever.
Well, I appreciate that.
Are you retired?
That's not. Well, I don't use the R word. I'm a second halfer. And I spent 30 years in technology, and I've been out of that world for 10 years, and so I'll always be doing something. But I'm still earning some income. But I do a lot of what I'll call second half kind of stuff.
Oh, good.
Good. Yeah, especially relates to purpose and generosity, et cetera. So, but my question for you guys is about starting to fund our grandkids' educational expenses. And my wife and I had UGMA accounts when our kids were growing up, and used those accounts to pay for all their education. We have 4. They're all now grown adults, and 3 of 4 are married and starting to have grandkids. And so my wife and I want to start funding our grandkids. And I sense what we did 20 years ago, whatever it was, now sort of believe that maybe 529 accounts are better than UGMA accounts to use for that. But I'm really curious about you guys' experience and opinion about, okay, if you want to start saving, for grandkids, that's the oldest of which is 7 now. What's the best vehicle? Is it 529? Or is it some other?
So
I love the 529.
Yeah, I would use the 529. But the interesting thing about the 529, especially as a grandparent, is if the child if your grandchild actually is eligible for any sort of federal state aid to go to cover his college classes or her college classes, you may not want to actually distribute the money until the child is in their junior or senior year. Because and I'm not going to dig.
The assets count.
The assets count as their income. Yeah. And so when you actually dole the money out, the first 2 years, it depends on the parent's income. So the idea of the grandparent owning the 529 is actually brilliant because it doesn't show up.
That's right.
In the financial statements that if the child is asked to produce if they want student loans or aid.
Yeah. Which all the kids fill that out.
Right.
Well, not all of them.
90%, 90%.
A lot of them. Yeah, correct. If most people, if they think there's a chance in the world that they can get some money, then they will fill this thing out, these forms. But in terms of the vehicle to save the money, the 529 is absolutely perfect.
And you would have used it with your own kids had it been around then.
But it wasn't there, so you used the UGMA or UTMA, which is Uniform Gift to Minors Act, or Uniform
Transfer to Minors.
But the 529 is perfect.
You mentioned waiting till junior or senior, but as a grandparent, it wouldn't be attached from an asset base to them anyway, right? So
it's the income so if they're freshman year, they get money. Let's assume you save money in the 520.
Okay.
But either way, if you'd have similar issues with UGMA.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's when you dole the money out.
Yeah.
But if you get to the point and the grandchild's parents are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, it's not going to make any difference when you send them the money. If the grandparent, if they're eligible for student aid, you want them to get as much student aid as possible. But we're talking 10 or 11 years from now, and who knows whether universal healthcare, universal education, universal housing, universal whatever.
Basic what's the basic
Basic
income?
income.
We got it all. We might even
look at
they'll pay you to go to
personal
school.
responsibilities. That's so 1990. Personal responsibilities. Is the
So
thing of
I
the
use the
past.
529 for my children. Pat used it for his children.
Yep, still use it. Still use it. It's been great. It's been great.
Cool.
And you want to
I
use
appreciate that. Well, you're right.
an aggressive portfolio inside of the 529.
Yeah.
Because you have a long time.
Okay. Cool.
Got a long time.
Cool.
All righty.
Well, I hope you're wrong. We're all wrong. It's not going to be free, but that's a whole different conversation.
I know.
Well,
It is interesting.
Well, I appreciate the call.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And
Thank you.
Pat,
Thank
but I
guys.
tell you what, when I look at,
Let's talk about college education.
I read the other day we're at student loans are 1.5 trillion.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't very many years ago. It was less than $1 trillion. I mean, it's getting much worse.
And what has
Well, we've talked about this in this program before, so I don't want to go ad nauseum over it, but it's
what happens is the more money that goes into it, the higher the cost of education.
I'm not an expert on college education, but if you look at the number of administrators,
well, you
to
spent
students,
enough. How many years did you spend? I spent 6 years in college. So
Your undergrad?
I should be
but
an
if you
expert.
look at the number of administrators per student today versus 30 years ago, I mean, there's all these. It's all this.
It's just listen, it takes place in every bureaucracy. It takes place in business. It takes place in government. It takes place in healthcare. It takes place in every bureaucracy, which is to build little.
Well, when there's
fiefdom.
guaranteed funding sources,
Easy. It's easy.
you just sign. You don't have to show that you can repay the loan.
Yeah. Although some college costs, at least in the private sector, have started to drop.
It's becoming competitive.
Yeah, it's become very, very competitive.
Because some young people are like, I don't know if I want. Do I really want to get out of school with $100,000 in debt?
Yeah. And
Maybe I should go learn a trade.
quite frankly, I wish that there were more trade schools, but mostly because it's hard to get a
By
plumber
the
to come
way,
to your house.
there's some changes to the 529 plans that had recently enacted, and one of those is that they can be used for apprenticeships.
Right?
So money can be used for apprenticeships, which I think is pretty powerful. So, all right.
And you can use it to pay off some student debt. So that actually makes sense. Let's talk about this. So this gentleman that just called, Paul,
Yes.
we don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years. There's no problem putting money into the 529, especially as a grandparent, because it's not
So
an
you
asset.
tell your grandkid, look, if I give it to you now, it's going to harm your federal aid. You're going to get $8,000 federal aid right now. If I give you the money, you won't get so take the free money and take out a loan.
That's right.
For the rest, they're going to give it to you. Just sign. All you got to do is sign the thing. They'll give you the loan. Take the loan, and then once you're either like maybe a senior in school, we'll take the money out of the 529 to pay off the loan.
Unless there's some sort of universal loan forgiveness program, in which case we will take out the 529, pay the taxes and the slight penalty on it, and keep it for grandma and grandfather.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on here. 833-99-WORTH will get you to Allworth's Money Matters. And we are in Ohio talking with Patty. Patty, you're with Scott Hansen and Pat McLean, Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. Hi, Patty.
Hi.
What can we do for you?
Well, I was listening to the show last week, and I did the math. I lived in Taiwan for a year, and I taught English. And my brother got very ill. I moved back to the States. I had sold everything I owned. My daughter took my good furniture.
Oh.
And so I had to come home. And I built a place, and I bought new furniture. I'm 62, and I'm in.
So how
only
old
in
were
my
you? So what age did you decide to move to Taiwan and sell everything?
Oh, it was just a year before I did it.
A year ago.
Yes.
You just returned from Taiwan.
Yes.
Okay. And this was to care for your brother or your mother?
My brother.
Okay.
I'm like a mother to him. He's developmentally disabled, and my older sister kind of. But anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So
well, you're
sold
going down,
everything
but
I
you know
had.
what? Here's why I'm asking this question, because our life very rarely turns out exactly as we planned, right? And things happen. and
Right.
we have people in our life we suddenly need to take care of, all those sort of things. So I continue.
Okay, so I had no intention of moving back to the States except for a visit until I hit retirement age. So I currently in several different types of accounts, plus my STRS. I have a 403B, several different. I have about 660,000 in my retirement account,
Okay.
and I'll take a hit on my Social Security because of the windfall tax in Ohio.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how much is your pension?
Right now, I think I have about 127,000 in that.
No. So you're,
STRS.
yeah, you receive a monthly pension?
No, I'm not getting it. I haven't retired yet.
Okay.
got it.
Got it. So for the rest of the listeners, what Patty said is she participates in the state, she called it STRS, which is the State Teachers Retirement System. And I presume you are a teacher, and that at her retirement, she will receive a monthly pension. And in addition to that, she has saved up in other retirement plans $660,000. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Okay. And because she's a
So-
teacher, she doesn't get full Social Security benefits like many other
Because she's
people.
been paying into her state teacher's retirement and not into Social Security.
So,
Right. This is my second career. I've only been a teacher this is my 14th year.
okay.
So I'm going to have reduced benefits from STRS as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because you didn't have enough. You didn't have 30 years. or
But
whatever.
you'll have a
Right.
higher Social Security check than most people because that you worked in the private sector. So, what's your question for us?
Well, my question is this. Well, let me give you another point. When I was listening to the show and people were talking about car loans and I looked at my statement because I had donated my van when I moved to Taiwan and I had to buy a car. I wouldn't buy a new one. I bought a 2016 with 30,000 miles on it, and I financed it for 5 years.
Okay.
And I looked, and from July when I purchased it to last week, I had paid $700 in interest.
Okay.
And in my savings, I had about $65,000, and I looked at my interest statement from
Mm-hmm.
the bank, and
Uh-huh.
I said, "What on earth am I doing?"
Uh-huh.
So I paid it off,
Okay.
and it made me nervous
Mm-hmm.
because it was 18,000 to
Okay.
pay it off. But anyway, this is my question. I want to start thinking about retirement, and I don't know if I should be putting more into. Right now I'm only doing about 10% into my 403B, which is equivalent to a 401k
Mm-hmm.
for teachers. So I would like to retire in the next 2-3 years.
And where are you renting a place now?
No, I built a place.
Is it paid for?
Oh no.
What do you owe on it?
Okay, I got to do the math. Like 180.
Okay. And how much will your pension be from? So if you were, so first of all, I'd like you to go to our website and read the paper. In fact, Jasmine, we're going to put you on hold after this, and Jasmine's going to send you Scott's book called Decision Points, which is the process that
And I think we're having workshops too.
She's in Ohio.
In Cincinnati, we've got some workshops.
we do
I'm not
have
sure
some
that-
coming up in Cincinnati.
Allworth Financial. Go to allworthfinancial.com.
I don't know how close you are to Cincinnati, but we have these workshops where we actually explain our process. It's out there, and whether you come to us and use our advisors or you do it on your own, we explain the whole process as how do you determine
how much money you need
and where it comes from, right? So there's a 7-step process, and the first step is, what am I living on today? Right? So that's the first thing you need to determine is what am I living on today? And then the second thing you actually look at is what expenses will either go up or down in retirement. The third thing we look at is taxes. The fourth thing we look at is risk. Is how much risk is in your portfolio? Is it the appropriate amount? Is it too much? We look at estate planning, and then we look at distributions as to where the money actually comes from. So you need to kind of go through that process to answer the questions. I'm guessing, and you said you're 62, is that right?
Yes.
I from the looks of it, my guess is that you're actually probably pretty good. If you can generate $3,000 a month between your STRS and Social Security pension, you may not want to pay off this mortgage because most of your money is actually sitting in tax qualified accounts, and you may just decide to keep that mortgage until the day you die or convert it into a reverse mortgage at some point in time.
Right.
But my guess is, and you're single?
I am single. I've got a 25-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And I've already done my estate.
Okay. And your daughter is not living with you?
No.
You're not supporting your daughter?
I gave her money for, I'm sorry. I've got a...
Hello? Oh, anyway. So my guess is that she's fine.
Are
you
we're
back?
just about to hang up on you.
I'm here.
Okay.
No, I was trying to mute the phone because
got it.
the student was...
Oh, you're in school right now. Very nice.
Yes.
Anyway, those pesky kids. What grade do you teach?
I am an elective, a career. You guys were talking about vocational schools or career. I am a career tech teacher.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I have high schoolers, anywhere from freshmen to seniors.
Good for you. That is one hard job. I'm telling you,
But,
one
you
hard
know,
job.
It's a second career, and I love it.
Oh, good for you.
Good
Good for you. So if you're not able to attend one of our workshops, then go to our website, and Jasmine's going to we're going to put you on hold, and Jasmine's going to send you Scott's book called Decision Points that actually walks you through the process. We have a video on our website, allworthfinancial.com, and then there's a couple white papers. So whether you use our firm or you walk through it yourself, it's a pretty easy process for you to understand your own situation. Yeah. So
appreciate the call. I think what's important for people, Pat, is that, as you would obviously agree, that people are in a position so that if suddenly, Patty had to move back to the States to care for a family member, right?
Who knew?
A lot of us retire before we had planned because of some outside circumstance.
Yeah, yes. Either to take care of yourself, health issue, to take care of a loved one, or your company has decided that it wanted to go a different direction and not involve you in the process.
That's right. Yes. But
oftentimes it doesn't mean that you were a bad employee or that you weren't valuable. Oftentimes the company is actually either closing a division, selling a division, or moving a division.
I wanted to talk about when you should not pay off a car loan. And I didn't ask Patty because she had already paid it off.
She had already paid it off because you were going to...
You know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I was going to bring it up, but she had already paid it off.
So, like home loans, credit card balances, they are... The way the interest is calculated, it's called a simple interest loan, which essentially is what's the balance outstanding, what is the interest rate, multiply that interest rate by the balance outstanding. That's how much interest you have to pay. And you can divide it by 12 or divide it by 365 or whatever, but that's the interest. For some car loans, there's what's called the rule of 78.
Or a computed interest loan.
Or sum of the digits loan. And the way these loans work, they are not simple interest loans. And they compute how much interest would be charged. Let's say it's a 60-month loan. Although I think new car loans are even longer than that. Let's just say it's a 60-month loan.
So 5 years.
5-year loan. They say, all right, if the interest rate is 4%, what's that interest going to be over the period of the loan? They calculate how much would that be on a monthly basis. And essentially, on your first payments, you are paying interest first.
So they figure out over that 5 years the total amount of money that you're going to pay on this. So you borrow $10,000, they figure you're going to pay $13,000 on this loan over the time period. They take that, divide it by 60, and then they just start it. And now all of your first payments go towards the interest.
Now you might say, well, I know with a mortgage, your first payments seem like they all go towards interest. Yeah, this is different. This is they really goes towards interest.
100% of it.
So what we've seen, sometimes someone who's already had a loan for 6 months, they want to pay it off. You might have already paid all the interest. It might not make any sense at all to pay that off.
That's right.
Even if you're earning 2% in the bank, or 1.5% in the bank, that's more than zero.
My first car, I bought it when I was 19. I took a loan, a Volkswagen Rabbit Wolfsburg edition, by the way, white.
Wolfsburg.
The Wolfsburg edition, white Volkswagen Rabbit.
Those weren't that common.
A year into the loan, I called and said, I want to pay this off.
And you found?
I had already paid the interest. It made no sense for me to pay this. That was the
Financial
last time I actually took that type of
There's
loan.
nothing like a personal education for a financial decision, for financial education. All right, we are just about out of time here. Want to let everyone know we still have a workshop this next Saturday in Sacramento. We'll be in the Roseville area, and in the Denver region, we'll be in Broomfield. So Saturday the 8th, that's next Saturday, we still have a workshop, retirement workshop at 11:15 that morning. Go to allworthfinancial.com for the details. We need to take a quick break. If you want to join the program, 833-99-WORTH. You're listening to Allworth's Money Matters.
Can't get enough of Allworth's Money Matters? Visit allworthfinancial.com/radio to listen to the Money Matters podcast.
Welcome back to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hansen here.
Pat McLean.
Glad you are here with us on this program. And I'm just going to lift my son is graduating from Boston College.
Yes, I saw him at your father's funeral and spent some time
And
talking
I don't
to
think
him.
I mentioned that I was out for a few weeks. My father was in the hospital. We thought he was going to get better, and he did not. So.
Oh, I don't believe you did mention that. So it was a beautiful service, and it was. And I loved your dad. Your dad was the absolute character.
He was like most of us. We're complicated humans, and if you didn't know him and you only went to the funeral, you're like, this guy was amazing, right? So I was like, man, I wish I knew your dad better. It was like an awesome man. Like, well,
But so the interesting thing about Scott and Scott's dad, Scott is the 100% the antithesis of his father in terms of being serious about life and goals planning and like really taking it very, very seriously and putting all the energy. And your dad was relatively carefree.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It's like, yeah. Well, and he was just everything was just kind of interesting. Wow, look at that, you know?
Yeah. So anyway, I back to your son. I ran.
He was a pharmacist though, so wasn't like he was just.
No. He was a smart guy. So I talked to Blake, your son, at your father's funeral, and he said he was graduating. And anyway, and that your boy's got a big head of hair on him there.
And some facial hair.
I guess that's the style.
But he just this last week found out he got a job.
Okay. Congratulations, Dad. Son working right out of college. Good job.
Now I look at, for example, Pete, our chief operating officer. His son's about the same age. Got a very professional job.
As an engineer in Chicago?
Yes. Right?
Actually, not as an engineer. He works at a data technology company.
So my son, he's got a job. He's with an active travel company. He is going to be. He has a position on the camp crew,
Which means
setting up tents,
cooking, cleaning.
Yes. But he's excited about it because he says he'll get to stay in national parks. He said, I'm really excited. I'll get to stay in national parks. And on my days off, I'll be able to do my paragliding because he got into paragliding.
Paragliding is when you jump off a hill with that thing on your back.
Yes. And there's part of me that is really excited that my son is like being young, and I just want to be adventurous and
Well, he learned a little bit of that from you.
Setting up, and he wants to teach skiing in the winter. There's part of me that is excited and maybe even a little envious, like what a fun lifestyle. And there's the other part. There's the other part of me. It's like,
Son.
maybe you should go work for KPMG or
Some accounting firm. Or what was his degree in?
at Boston College, private university.
What did he graduate?
International relations.
Oh. So you
With, I think, a minor in economic development or something like that. He says he wants to do this for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then he'll get serious about his career.
Good for him. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but good for him. I mean, it's his story. He's got to write it. It's not your story.
Oh, I understand. I'm just
good for him.
just sharing. Why am I
Nice
sharing
kid.
it?
Nice kid, though. Well, because you just received he just told you got the job?
This
or?
last week. Yeah, I just it's
That's nice.
I guess is it nice? It is nice.
Yeah, what?
Yeah?
Just-
He really wanted this job. I mean, he really wanted this
Look,
job.
he's 22, maybe 23.
He's 22.
All right, you can live on nothing. You can literally at 22, you can live.
Well, he will be because I've told him you're going to have to be. I mean, I'll probably make sure he's got health insurance.
But other than that, he can drive an old beat up Volkswagen but that's a dangerous cars. You could drive something, and he'll be fine.
And apparently, this company they own some like employee housing in different areas for its really low rent. And I think he'd like to be at a ski resort, teaching and live in the winter there.
And you could go and stay with him in that employee housing when you visit him.
with 14 other kids and earplugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A bunch of 22-year-olds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
And plus,
perfect.
it's probably
It'd be perfect.
really nice.
I could sit there and bring a couple books, enjoy them, read them.
yeah, super nice.
Yeah. All clean. I'm sure the sheets would be all clean
Oh.
and fresh.
Perfect.
All right, let's take some calls. We are going to go to Cincinnati and talk with Ben. Ben, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
We have a 401 Roth. We also have an IRA Roth rollover. We have met the age requirements and the duration of having a Roth. What are the tax implications as far as our contributions and growth and the company's contributions and growth? I understand that my contributions and growth I'll be able to take out anytime since I've already paid taxes, so to speak, scot-free. What about the company's contributions and growth? Are those taxable?
Yeah, so the company, anytime you have a 401k through your employer, I don't know of any employer that does a Roth contribution because the employer chooses to take a tax deduction. It's part of their payroll expense, essentially. So when they give a match, they put the match in on a pre-tax basis. They get the deduction. And so those are pre-tax dollars. Those are taxable when withdrawn.
And the growth on that.
Okay, so the company's portion is taxable.
Yeah, it should actually show up like that on your statements. Are you seeing it on your statements with a classification between
I
the
don't
two?
know what. To be honest, I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It's not my wheelhouse.
Okay.
But
I get it.
So what?
Okay.
How old are you, Ben?
61.
Okay.
And are you working now?
Yes.
And why do you ask the question? Is it out of curiosity, or are you planning on taking distributions from the Roth?
I'm trying to weigh that out whether I want to use the Roth or hold it.
Oh, you mean so when you retire, whether you want to start taking monies out of the Roth or the regular IRA? That's what you're asking?
No. I just want to pay off a debt with the Roth.
Got it. And how big is the debt, and who is it to?
I owe the debt $60,000.
And is it on a home, car?
Yes.
It's on a home.
Yes.
Got it.
Got it. And is there any dollars outside of the Roth? Any dollars anywhere else?
Yes.
What is that?
That'd be the 401.
Got it. Any money outside any of qualified plans, IRAs, Roths, anything like any money in the bank or stocks or anything like that on the side of that?
Everything we have is through
Retirement accounts.
Okay. And what's the approximate value of your Roth?
The company and the IRA?
Yeah.
Combined?
Yeah.
90,000.
How soon before you retire?
No pun intended.
Okay.
Drop dead date is March of 2022.
Okay, so here, and you're making contributions right now to the 401k. What are your contribution levels?
I'm at 9.
Okay, and is there a match in the plan?
6.
Okay, so why don't you lower that contribution back a little bit, and accelerate the payments on the mortgage?
Because the mortgage is really cheap at this point.
Okay. Well, that's the point exactly. If that is exactly how you feel, then we shouldn't be discussing taking out a lump sum out of the Roth.
Well, my personal opinion, I'm expecting rates to increase, mortgage rates to increase. I can't see them staying this low.
Oh, take a look through Europe and Japan and the rest of the of
Who
the
knows?
world.
Yeah, I mean,
no one knows.
so I guess we're now you've confused me. So you want to pay off this mortgage, or you don't want to pay off this mortgage?
I do.
Okay.
Well, then, what I just said to do was start paying it off before you retire, and then make the decision of whether to take the lump sum out of the Roth at the time.
Or take how much is in the Roth IRA?
30.
And one thing you could do is take the money out of the Roth IRA today, throw it against the mortgage. Now you've got a mortgage balance of $30,000,
and then start making.
I'd work as hard as I could between now and the drop dead date in 2 years to see if you can't get that balance down further.
Yes, I like that idea. So make payments of $1,400 a month between
what you
now and
can do
there,
to
and,
get that
and
thing
you'll
paid
probably
down
get
some
it paid
more.
off. So do half of it now.
$1,400 in this part of the country isn't like what your $1,400 is.
Listen, I didn't mean to be. What is that? Elitist?
All I'm saying is your cost of living is higher.
Yeah, I understand that. Make as many extra payments as you possibly can on that mortgage to get it paid down by the time you retire. But I like Scott's idea. Just take it out, and then even if you keep the payments the same.
The danger is if otherwise, I'd say reallocate the money inside those into a secure point. But if it's going to be invested in secure, you're going to end up less than you're paying on the mortgage.
That's right.
What you don't want to do is have money set aside in some stock fund that you're planning on using on the March of 2022. And sometimes people say, well, I'm 2 years away from retirement, so I should be conservative. But most people aren't planning on spending all their money the first. In this situation, you're thinking about taking $60,000 and spending it immediately. So that's $60,000 at least we wouldn't want to have tied in the stock market. But we're 2 years away. I like the idea of saying, let's take the $30,000 Roth. Let's take that today. Let's throw it against the mortgage. Now we've cut the mortgage balance in half. And then I'd say, can we add a little extra to our mortgage payment each month to try to get that thing paid, if not paid off in 2 years, but pretty dang close to it?
What's your mortgage payment now?
$650.
Okay, well, see if you can get it up to $1,000. And even if
at Pat's point, lower your contributions to your 401k from 9% to 6%,
and apply that rest of it against your mortgage and pay down the $30,000. Your goal is obviously to get this house paid off.
So when you retire, you don't have to worry about it.
So it's done. And
we like that.
We gave you a 3-step process to get there.
All right.
All righty.
You've answered my question,
All right.
gentlemen. Have a wonderful
All right.
evening. I got to ask you one question. You one more question.
Sure, fire away.
Why are you all still in a high tax state? You can come to let's talk smart business, okay? Come in between the mountain ranges.
All right.
So a few years back, voters voted in a tax on high earners, and I spent some time with the tax attorney looking at it. I live in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas in California, just outside of Sacramento. Lived in the same community almost 30 years. And for a while I'm thinking, why don't I live up in Nevada? It's not very far from my house.
It's less than 2-hour drive.
Yeah, 100 miles. I can commute. I can telecommute to do some from work. I can have the studio over there. I'll come into California when I need to. And I started running the numbers, and it would save a lot of money. And then I suddenly said, but wait a minute. Where do I like to live? Where's my community? And I was talking to my wife, and it's like, well, she said, that's great. Then when you die, you'll have more money. And the fact is, I can afford to live where I live with 330 days of sunshine a year. And that's why people stay in California.
Anyway,
I think.
And Ben, my answer to the question is,
I've got family here.
You can ask me tomorrow, and my answer will be different than today, because every other day I'm like, what am I doing here? But I have been happily married for 34
And
years.
it's not just the taxes
correct.
either. It's
I'm
some of
trying-
the stuff that comes out of Sacramento. You're like, what in the world are they thinking?
That's probably
Really? Of all the problems, you're working on that?
that's probably the driver. But I have been happily
Like
married
a
for
nanny state.
Well, I've been happily married for 34 years. You'll have to ask my wife what her opinion is. But in order to continue that going forward, it seems like I'm going to have to stay here for a while.
You'll probably live where your wife tells you to live.
That's my guess.
So I wish you well, Ben, and congrats on your retirement in a couple years from now. Again, if you want to join the program, 833-99-WORTH. And we do enjoy taking calls. So let's talk with Daryl. Daryl, you're with All Worth's Money Matters.
Hi, this is Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
Yes. Basically, the question I had is, am I missing something? I'm 77 years old, still working, though I'm planning to retire shortly. And I live I've got a paid-for home, the whole thing. I figured, based on my 2020 projections, just Social Security and required minimum distribution alone, I got about $98,000 a year coming in from that. So basically, I'm just, wondering if am I missing something?
Social Security and what?
Social Security and required minimum distributions.
RMDs, okay.
I should say the family income is that, my wife and I both.
Okay.
So it's a $98,000 not counting your employment.
And not counting employment that I'm still working.
Okay.
So the only thing come to mind, so you're 77, you require minimum distributions. There's still at a point right now where it's probably 5.5% or 6% you had to take out from that account. As you get older, it's a higher and higher percentage. So if you were 87, so
it'd be 10,
but
14, 15%.
And right now, if you're 77, your home's paid off, you took out roughly 6% from your 401k and your Social Security income, I think you're in pretty good shape, provided your 401k is somewhat balanced and diversified.
So was that your question for us?
Yeah, basically, my question is, am I missing something? Because I programmed in the health insurance, I programmed my other expenses in. I know, what I'm doing, but
the biggest concern I would have is how your retirement dollars are invested.
Scott, I'll add something to that. If you give money to charities, I'd like that to come out of your RMD directly to the charity,
even if it's $500 a year.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, there's something to think about. I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, well, you asked if you were missing anything, and
so Pat started to go on the list in his mind,
and that's one thing that most people, by the way, completely miss. So if you go to a church or if you volunteer at a food bank or you do whatever,
if it's more than a couple $100 a year,
you just have the check go directly. And so it's pretty normal for us to meet with our clients and say, okay, what are your planned giving for next year? And I did it with a client in the end of December. She said, well, I like giving the check to the church on a monthly basis. They expect it. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send them a check in January. I want you to write them a letter that says, in lieu of the monthly check, just accept this money and you could expect a similar amount next year, so that they can budget for it. So that's the one thing you're missing. The other thing, you don't have any debt. You're 77 years old. You're active. I assume
obviously still working.
If you have a long-term care insurance, that may be a gap. And you may decide to insure for it, and you may not decide to insure for it. Most people decide not to insure for it because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's really, really expensive.
I'm sorry, I didn't totally understand you, but basically, I'm not one that likes to pay insurance for things
right.
that the cost is greater than just simply bearing the cost.
If you can self-insure, then don't. Yeah.
That's right. That's why you may choose to self-insure, or you may. Look. No one wants to buy insurance, right? It just isn't. Yeah.
I think the one thing though is really back on your portfolio. I have no idea how your retirement dollars are invested, but
let's put it this way: today is not a good day in the market.
Okay.
But I've lived through these before, so I don't get too worried about them.
Is your portfolio 60% stock, 70% stock?
All I was going to say is that it should be structured in such a manner so that your next 5 years worth of required minimum distributions are not tied to the stock market.
So that would be 35 to 40% of the portfolio.
Maybe a little less than that. I'd run the numbers, including dividends and whatnot, because you're going to be forced to take them out. And if you're quitting working, you're going to be spending those dollars. So, right?
Yeah, I've got kind of the luxury to where my employer really doesn't want to see me retire.
Well, David, the reality is you are 77, and at some point in time,
maybe you won't. I mean, I bet this last week I was talking to a 79-year-old, an 89-year-old gentleman who is still working.
good for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, our recommendation is,
but with the problem with the required minimum distribution, and when you eventually are retired and need the money, that's when you want to make sure that you don't have whatever money you need for the next 5 years.
you want
You don't want it in the
fixed
stock
income.
market. You don't want it in the stock market.
Yeah.
Unless you'd say, well, I'm fine. I'll just cut my expenses way back when the market's low. But that makes no sense, particularly at this stage in your life. At this stage in your life, it's about making sure you can maintain your same standard of living, regardless of what happens with the financial markets. I would think that's probably your number one goal, and maybe you have some other legacy goals for kids and whatnot. But those are the things to be thinking about. So glad you called, Daryl.
Appreciate you listening to our show either on terrestrial radio or
Via podcast.
our podcast.
And let's talk with Dina. Dina, you're with Scott Hansen and Pat McLean, Allworth's Money Matters.
Yes, hi. Good morning. I think it's still morning.
Oh.
Hi, Dina.
What can we do for you?
Yeah, I'm 62, and I've been retired for about 2 years. I have 401k, approximately $600,000 right now, and not working, of course. And then what I'd like to know is if it would be advisable for me to start converting into a Roth IRA over the next 7 to 8 years before I have to start taking the RMD.
What's your income right now?
Between myself and my husband, we make about $100,000.
Is your husband working?
No, neither one of us are working.
So I think that clearly the idea, you're at age 72, you're going to be forced to take some money from your retirement account. Your required minimum distributions aren't going to be that great for you. Even if this account, let's say, even if it doubled the next 10 years, which is possible, your required minimum distribution would be about $40,000, assuming you didn't touch this account at all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a lot of money that's outside of retirement accounts?
We do.
How much?
Over $1 million.
Okay. I would look at converting. So you
You're
want
going to have to run the numbers.
Yeah, I would look at converting. I don't know if I would convert, but I would certainly go through the exercise because you're right on the you're right on the edge.
And the way the tax brackets, you're currently, sounds like based on your income, in a 12% federal tax bracket, and it goes from 12% to 22% it's roughly about $100,000 if you're married. That's after your including your standard deduction. So you are right kind of near that area. The way to actually do this is just, you're going to be doing your 2019 taxes soon anyway. Right? So just do a little projection for 2020 and say how much additional income could we have and still be in that 12% federal tax bracket.
And it won't be a lot that you'll convert, if any at all.
It might be $10,000 or $15,000, but it's worth it, even at $10,000, because you're talking about a 10%. It's a 10% tax arbitrage.
Yeah, so it's $1,000 in your pocket, and you have the money to pay the. Yes, correct, and you have the money to pay the taxes on the conversion.
Yes,
right.
So you want to go through. So do you do your own taxes, or do you have someone else do your taxes?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
You just go through and say what would happen if I converted X, and if you stay in the 12% tax bracket, you want to convert as much as you possibly can at the 12%.
Okay.
Right.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
And then
when
I convert in the 22%,
no,
I'm probably not.
No.
Probably not. Because if you look at the $600,000, you've got 7 years or 10 years to go. You got to assume it's going to be probably worth $1 million or $1.1 million, maybe even $1.2 million. That's a 7% return over the next 10 years. And you're like, well, the distribution then will be $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, play with the numbers.
Okay.
All righty?
Well, that makes sense. Well, thank you very much.
All right,
Dan.
thanks for the call.
Yeah. And just so everyone is aware that with the Secure Retirement Act that was signed into law last minute of 2019, required minimum distribution has been moved from age 70 and a half to age 72.
Which was, when you said that, it was kind of weird hearing it.
What?
When you said at age 72, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was probably weird saying it.
It's so weird.
Okay.
I can't.
Well, I'm not a teenager.
It's weird.
It just sounded...
Yeah, because my whole career I've been saying 70 and a half. It's been 70 and a half for as long as I've been in the industry 30 years.
So the Secure Act, the required minimum distribution start at 72.
Yes, unless you are already on required minimum distributions. If so, you must continue that.
Yes.
But the required charitable, the charitable deduction, the qualified charitable, what do they call it? When you send the money from their retirement account directly to the charity.
Qualified charitable distribution.
You can still do that at age 70 and a half.
And take that.
So that's still
they're just a little bit more complicated.
They didn't quite fix that little
They didn't
loophole.
align everything.
They didn't align everything perfectly when they did that, yeah. And they killed the stretch IRA. So your heirs, your children can't stretch these out. And there's been some talk, there's been written proposals about eliminating, starting required minimum distributions for Roth accounts. Forcing people to start taking money out of the Roth.
Why?
Because it'll put them back in taxable income area. That'll happen.
Oh, the income coming out of it.
If I were a betting man, the next 5 years, that's going to happen.
So you wouldn't be taxed coming out, but the assets then would generate income on the outside, and then you'd be taxed.
We are just about out of time. Hey, want to let you know, if you are either in Sacramento region or the Denver region, next Saturday we're having one more of our workshops. If you missed our retirement workshop, we'll be in Roseville on the 8th and Broomfield on the 8th. So go to allworthfinancial.com for all information on that and to sign up. We're out of time, and we'll see you next week. This has been Scott Hansen, Pat McLean of Allworth's Money Matters.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.